Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front with news for and about the men and women serving in America's military. I'm George Thomas. Sexual abuse and assault is an epidemic in America's military that must be addressed. That, according to Democratic Senator Kristen Gillibrand. She says military leaders have promised change for 30 years and have not delivered. Take a listen.
The DoD's most recent survey estimated that almost 21,000 service members were sexually assaulted in 2018. That makes them more likely to be raped by their fellow service members than shot by the enemy in war. Since 2013, unrestricted reports of sexual assault in the military have doubled, yet the rate of prosecution and conviction has halved. The assailant was often someone in the survivor's chain of command, the same chain of command responsible for deciding the case. These commanders are not lawyers. They are not delivering justice, and they are not doing enough to help survivors. 2 in 3 survivors who report the crime experience retaliation or ostracism.
Hope Sek with military.com joins me now with more on this issue. Welcome, as always, Hope. Senator Gillibrand believes the prosecution of these cases need to be removed from military. What is she proposing exactly?
This is a very hotly debated issue. Right now, there's a bill called the Military Justice Improvement Act that does exactly that. So when charges are brought against a service member, there's what's called a convening authority, and that is a general in the individual's chain of command who makes a decision on whether this case goes to court-martial, how these charges are dealt with. And court-martial, of course, is the military version of a trial. So the question at hand is, should it stay that military commander be the one making these really crucial justice decisions, or should that authority be given to somebody outside the military, outside the chain of command, to make those decisions?
Hope, do you think this is what the enlisted service members want as well?
I think there's long been a perspective that it is much better to keep things within the military. You hear that from military officers, and I think from commanders quite a bit. Now, on the enlisted side, I think people who have had direct experience with this process and perhaps are unhappy with the outcome or feel like somebody perpetrated a crime against them and then got off and was not charged to the full extent of the law, I think they might see things differently. In fact, just recently, the defense secretary was required to, or forced to respond to a video that came out on TikTok where a young Marine was saying, my perpetrator is still in uniform, still staying in, and how is this justice?
Senator Gillibrand gave the example of Vanessa Gillum, who was, as you know, murdered at Fort Hood, citing a report calling the world's largest army base, quote, permissive environment for sexual assault. Do you think this tragedy will help bring change?
Corporal Vanessa Guillen's tragic murder has certainly worked change already. Some of the things that have happened in its wake, there have been a lot of people fired, but also it's shown that commands units don't always go looking for troops who go missing, that there's not that accountability. And in her case, her family says she reported being sexually harassed, and it has shown that for those particular issues, too, there's insufficient accountability. So I think that's a starting point, and it's certainly put the attention of the nation on this issue, not just in the military.
Yeah. What kind of responses are you hearing from military leaders about Gillibrand's call for justice outside of the military?
There is definitely a tension. So Congress calls on the military to do many things all the time. And this issue is not a new one, but there are leaders in the military who feel that Congress pushes the military in directions it's not prepared to go, maybe not ready to go. And, so there's this internal tension. But at the same time, yesterday, or March 24th, the Pentagon stood up its own military sexual assault commission to say, we have not solved these issues, and it's time that we really get serious at fixing this problem. So for this particular issue, the time could be now to move forward with some serious change.
Yeah, and to that very point, Hope, do you think the Senate will pass a law to make this change?
That is so hard to say, but what we have right now that we have not had in the past is a Democratic-controlled House and Senate and a Democratic president, and some of the most forceful voices on this issue have been from the Democratic side. So there could be more momentum than we've seen in the past.
Obviously, as you know, this is a very, very important matter within the ranks of the military. Are there programs, efforts to help victims who are caught in such a situation?
Absolutely. So this new 12-member commission that just began has 90 days to make its recommendations to the Pentagon about how to better prevent sexual assault and empower bystanders and really give survivors the tools that they need to address this and to seek justice. It's actually created this database where it's calling for service members to go and tell their own stories, say what happened to them in a very kind of safe, anonymous environment, and to share those stories so that the entire institution can benefit. So that's just one example of a way that the institution is moving forward, trying to do more, open more avenues.
Yeah, it's a very, very important environment, a safe environment that needs to be created. Hope, thank you so much for your insights on this very important topic. By the way, you will be back a little later in the program to talk to us about how America's military members may be the key to restoring civility in America. So stay with us. We'll be back with you shortly. In other news, folks, human trafficking is a huge problem worldwide and here at home. Some members of the military are working to combat it. Take a look at this story of how members of the Air Force are making sure victims have a voice and someone working to rescue and protect them.
It's pretty cliche, but your gut feeling is pretty... If something doesn't feel right, it doesn't look right, unfortunately, there's not going to be that moment in time where you're like, oh no, this is sex trafficking, or you have kids and adults and women that are abused mentally, physically, and emotionally. And oftentimes, they don't have a say, and they don't have a choice, and they're just shoved into this life that's unimaginable. So it's extremely important to spread awareness, because the more awareness we have, the more impact we can have in child trafficking and persons in general. My passion falls with doing as much as I can to help ensure that happens to the least amount of people as possible. And I just think that the more awareness we have in certain situations or anything really, is the way to make that impact. And I mean, like I said, it's people who have no voice. And I think the things we do for CTIP is kind of their voice. So yeah, I'm very passionate about helping those individuals that need that help. See something, say something, I feel like falls in line with anything security-based, anything security-related. So obviously, if you know signs and indicators, you can be better at see something, say something. You can be better at identifying certain type of situations or people, and you would say, hey, this was the situation I was in. something wasn't right, it was off, and we would take a report, never will you get shunned away. Never will you come to report something and we won't take it seriously. And I think that with wider awareness within the Air Force, we can make an impact and we can really help people avoid certain situations and maybe even help the ones that are in these type of situations out of harm's way.
Coming up, restoring civility to a divided America, and how the men and women of the U.S. military and their families can lead the way.
To have sex before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire. Monday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Thursday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
And welcome back, folks, to the show. No doubt America is in trouble when it comes to unity, from politics, faith, race, and even a growing distrust of the military on the rise. Military.com reports service members willing to take the first step could set the example by bridging what's called the military-civilian divide. The Veterans and Citizens Initiative is a nonpartisan group of veterans, military families, and support organizations formed last year to promote peace following the 2020 election. Lauren Augustine, Vice President of Government Affairs for Student Veterans of America, says veterans and civilians have to look for what they have in common. She says, quote, "It's on all of us to be mindful that anybody who you interact with is going to have a different lived experience from us," Augustine said. "If we have the idea that it's us versus them, that's a terrible starting point to begin with. You've got to stay positive in how you start that conversation across the board." Hope Hicks with Military.com is back with us for more on this story. Good to have you back, Hope. So this is some encouraging news, but first tell us a little about this military-civilian divide.
Yeah, so this is a problem that experts inside the military community have been tracking for several years now to lay out kind of the stakes. Fewer Americans than ever before actually serve in the military or know someone who serves. It's less than 1% now. And if you compare that to World War II or Vietnam or really any other era, that's really shocking. So there's no experiences in common. The military really doesn't understand the civilian point of view, and the civilian population doesn't really understand what the military does. So that's the starting point. And this organization is basically saying it's really up to folks in the military community to take the first step here, to make those points of contact and help support a better understanding.
What are some of the action steps that this group is taking to make a difference?
So some of it is just awareness. Encouraging, it's very easy, I think, for veterans and military families to feel misunderstood. You've got military veterans who have served in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, and they feel very much like the rest of the country doesn't even know there was a war that they were fighting. And so there's a tendency to kind of retreat into their own community and say, oh, you just don't understand. So part of what this group is doing is just saying, take that first step. Don't say you don't understand me, say, here's how to understand me better. So that's the starting point.
What are you hearing from members of the military and their families about this initiative?
So I think something to keep in mind is that the American population actually views these groups very highly. It's universally supported in places like Congress. You know, when the military needs a pay raise, to give them a pay raise. There's a broad undercurrent of support, even when America is down on a lot of institutions. They love the military, love and support veterans and family members. So I think a lot of the family members, the vets that I speak to, they do understand that. I think this is really the first time that these kind of groups have come together and said, let's harness that. Let's make you ambassadors. And so now I think the onus is on them to just kind of pick up that mantle and say, this is who we are.
How can their willingness to bridge the divide, as you guys have reported, be an example for the nation to follow?
So there's this massive breakdown in communication that's happening from one coast to the other right now, along party lines, along regional lines. It's not just the recent election, it's everything. We don't even communicate on the same channels. And I think there's a lot of striation. There are echo chambers on social media, and people who have different points of view, different experiences, are not really talking to each other in the way that maybe they used to. So any step out to another side of an aisle, or to say, you are not like me, but let me reach out and take the first step, I think that's radical, and I think that's countercultural. So in that way, this group, veterans, military family members who have these unique experiences, can really be sort of the cheerleaders and the vanguard for something really cool here.
Yeah, real quickly, the position that civilians also need to play an important role. Real quickly, talk about their role.
Absolutely. So we're in an environment now where you just can't be ignorant, and it is really important for civilians to understand that the military serves them. It answers to them. You know, it's U.S. tax dollars and that pay for the military, and it's U.S. kids, most of them, who fight in the military. So they have a stake in this. There was not that long ago a commission on military, national, and public service that was ordered by Congress, and it had all kinds of great ideas for how the civilian population at large can just serve their country better. And that extends to military service, but also things like the Peace Corps and volunteering, and just taking more pride and more interest, more stake in what's all around them. So I think that's the starting point for civilians.
All right, excellent point there. We'll have to leave it there. Hope, thank you so much for coming on the broadcast. Hope Sec with military.com. Still ahead, following in the footsteps of the original Fly Girl, Amelia Earhart. That story in a moment.
Are you suffering from feeling tired or worn out during the day? Can you not turn off your brain at night? You are not alone. Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Bruce, the sleep doctor, and I've partnered with the Christian Broadcasting Network, and we're going to bring you some unbelievable information that you can use tonight to get a better night's rest.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free copy of Protect Your Sleep today.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic. fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living, Tuesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man, come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Folks, welcome back to the broadcast. You're watching the CBN News Channel and our special On the Home Front. Female pilots are becoming more common in different areas of the U.S. military. For those serving in the U.S. Pacific Air Forces, they get to literally follow in the footsteps of trailblazer Amelia Earhart, with the hope of also inspiring future generations. Take a look.
My name is Carrie Pia. I'm a major in the United States Air Force. I've been a C-17 pilot for about 10 years now. Being here in Amelia Earhart's hangar feels inspirational and awe-inspiring. She was a trailblazer for women in her time.
I'm Captain Emily Barkmeyer. I'm a C-17 instructor pilot. I'm so glad that we have the opportunity to be here and to walk in the same, literally in the same hangar that she was in, that she fixed her plane in, that she took off from, and she landed here, and it's a very cool feeling. She was one of the very first to do the things that she did, and she was attempting to fly around the world, and a feat back then that was unheard of, and something that I can do any day of the week now because of the advances in technology and the advances of the human mind to realize that we're capable of so much more.
Amelia Earhart was a legacy in her own day, and I feel like that legacy has been carried on for generations, and it takes a lot of support from your team. We've come a far way, and just to be an inspiration to our sons and daughters and to show them that this is normal, this makes me proud.
I just can only hope that, you know, when my sons are my age, that they know that of course a female can be a pilot. Of course she can fly around the world. It's not a question of how or if they're capable, it's just a question of when they want to.
I feel proud to be an inspiration to both of my daughters and show them that they can do whatever they want as long as they put the hard work in and they keep their minds determined.
Wow, so cool. The legacy of Amelia Earhart through the generations. Coming up next, we'll take you on a trip down under to a military post most folks don't even know about, where their work takes on some pretty important projects. That story in a moment. Stay with us, folks.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, you know, to lead, just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family, life in your finances, life in your body, mind, and spirit, life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back, folks. Now we take you down under to Alice Springs, Australia, and the hilly deserts of the McDonnell Ranges. That's where you'll find the Detachment 421 of the U.S. Air Force's 709th on the edge of civilization, taking care of equipment with some pretty important jobs, detecting earthquakes, tsunamis, and weapons of mass destruction. Take a look.
Where we're at right now, we're in the McDonnell Ranges. We have a lot of hills in this area. The further north-south in town, then you just open up in the wide open desert.
We are in the dead center of Australia, in the desert, very, very far away from civilization in general.
You get like your normal paved streets, and then once you hit the edge of town, you hit the edge of civilization. So we are a geographically separated unit from the 709 Technical Maintenance Squadron. We're out here in Alice Springs, Australia, where we maintain a seismic array. It's just a 20-instrument array that we have seismometers in the ground that monitors for earthquakes, tsunamis, and also nuclear detection.
And this is, to some degree, a deterrent. So we're talking about keeping countries from developing programs of weapons of mass destruction, keeping them from testing those weapons if they have them, and it contributes to our national security of the United States as well as other countries.
It takes about 20-25 minutes to get to most of our sites on the array, and that's all off-road, four-wheel driving, pretty rough terrain to get out there. We're out actually on site, then we'll kind of assess our situation. We have procedures we go through and follow, a checklist to make sure things are working right, figure out what our issue is, and then we'll resolve it. We're kind of one of the last purveyors in the Air Force, as far as we know, of actually maintaining this cable plant in the way that it's been done traditionally 30, 40 years ago.
You know, we give 100%, and we keep that array up, you know, and this compound as well, up since 1955. We're honored to keep that up.
So cool. Well, folks, that's all for today, but you can find more of our exclusive news coverage at cbnnews.com. We hope you'll join us again next time. Have a great day, folks.